Today, we're diving into the Indianapolis Colts, a team that's really at a turning point. Their whole offseason is being shaped by two totally different, almost opposite forces. On one hand, you've got the front office with this super calculated, meticulous plan for stability. But on the other, you have the deeply personal, messy, and unpredictable journey of one of their star players. It's like a perfect strategy crashing right into the chaos of real life. So, let's break down this whole fascinating story.
Hey everyone, welcome to NFL Nexus. Before we really get into the weeds of this massive Colts offseason, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It honestly helps the channel out a ton. All right, let's get right into the head-scratching puzzle that was their last season. I want you to just picture this for a second. We're talking about the 2025 season. The Colts are looking like a real-deal Super Bowl contender. They are absolutely on fire, tearing through the first half of the season with a 7-1 record. The offense is firing on all cylinders. The defense is making huge plays. I mean, they looked unstoppable. So how in the world
they end up with a losing record? It just doesn't seem possible, right? But that is precisely what happened. The Colts became the very first team in the entire history of the NFL to pull off that achievement. It was a complete and total collapse that really forces you to ask what on earth went wrong, and more importantly, what are they doing about it now? This wasn't just some bad losing streak, folks. This was a historic failure that brings up some really tough questions about the leadership, the team's mental toughness, and maybe even the core foundation of the whole organization.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with that epic collapse and how the front office decided to handle it. Then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of how they're rebuilding their coaching staff. After that, we're going to shift gears completely and get into the human side of the game, digging into Charvarius Ward's incredibly tough year. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at this push and pull between the team trying to create stability and all the crazy uncertainty that's still hanging over them.
So let's jump right into that season of two halves. The story of the 2025 Colts is just wild. It's a spectacular rise followed by an equally spectacular and, unprecedented fall. But honestly, the most interesting part might be how the organization decided to respond to it all.
I mean, the contrast here is just staggering. On one side of the coin, you have a total catastrophic failure, a 7-1 start completely vaporized by a 7-game losing streak that boots you right out of the playoffs. Now, in today's NFL, an implosion like that, you'd expect heads to roll, right? Coaches fired, GMs on the hot seat. But owner Carly Arce Gordon did the complete opposite. She didn't panic. Instead, she publicly doubled down, announcing that both head coach Shane Steichen and general manager Chris Ballard were staying. The message was loud and clear. Yeah, that was a brutal, historic failure, but we are not blowing this thing up. They chose commitment over chaos, basically saying, we believe the guys who built the 7-1 team are the right guys to fix this. So, with the top brass securing their jobs, what's the first move? Well, you've got to reinforce the foundation right underneath them. And that led to a really strategic reset of the coaching staff, bringing in some fresh blood and very specific skills to back up Steichen and Ballard's plan for 2026.
Now, if you look at this table, you can really see a clear two-part strategy apply. First, see all those new hires? That's 5 guys brought in from the outside to fill very specific roles, from coaching the D-line to running the analytics. But then, look at the bottom half. That's a huge commitment to promoting from within. We've got 3 internal promotions, and get this, 2 of them are graduates of the Tony Dungy Fellowship Program, which is an awesome diversity initiative that helps build a pipeline for minority coaches and executives. So this tells you their philosophy isn't just about buying talent. It's also about growing it and rewarding the people who are already in the building. It's a really smart, balanced approach.
Okay, so let's zoom in on these new hires. We're going to take a closer look at these key new faces because you can really understand the team's strategy by looking at who they brought in. This wasn't just about filling seats, It was about adding very specific tools to their toolbox for next season. All right, this one right here, this is probably the biggest move of the bunch. Hiring Marion Hobby to coach the defensive line is all about one word: synergy. See, Hobby has already worked with the Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo back when they were with the Bengals, and together they helped turn pass rusher Trey Hendrickson into an absolute superstar. The goal here is crystal clear, right? They're trying to get the band back together, import that same magic, that same chemistry, and hopefully replicate that elite pass rushing success right here in Indianapolis. For a team that really struggled to get to the quarterback during that big collapse, this move wasn't a luxury, it was an absolute necessity.
Okay, before we introduce the next guy, we need to quickly talk about his job title, because it's become super important in the modern NFL.
A game management coordinator is basically the head coach's analytics guru on the sideline. This person is feeding him real-time data for everything, like whether to go for it on fourth down, how to manage the clock. It's all about using numbers to find those tiny little advantages that can literally win you games.
So, who did the Colts get for this critical job? A guy named Aditya Krishnan, and, wow, just look at this resume. He's been running football research departments for 2 other NFL teams, the Chargers and the Browns. This isn't just a hobby for him. This is his entire career. And as if that's not enough, he's also currently getting his MBA from Harvard. This hire screams that the Colts are going all in on high-level, data-driven strategy for those crucial in-game moments.
The rest of the new hires are really focused on youth and development. You've got Jeremy Bruce, who brings 8 years of college coaching experience. And then there's 25-year-old Dylan Doyle, a guy who just finished playing linebacker at big-time schools like Iowa and Baylor. These quality control jobs are so important. They're the guys grinding the film and helping build the game plan. And here's a little fun fact for you. Dylan's brother, Declan, just became the new offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. So when the Colts play the Ravens in 2026, you're going to have brother scheming against brother. How cool is that?
And now, we have to make a hard pivot. We've talked about the X's and O's, the front office strategy, the calculated moves to build a stable team. But football isn't played on a spreadsheet. And that brings us to the deeply personal, unpredictable, and raw human side of the sport, and the story of star cornerback Charvarius Ward. Ward's 2025 season was just a brutal start-and-stop nightmare. It started in Week 1 with his first concussion. He came back, and then in Week 6, something truly bizarre happened. During pregame warm-ups, he had a full-speed, accidental collision with a teammate that knocked him out cold. It was his second concussion in just over a month, so he landed on injured reserve. He fought his way back again in November, only to pull himself from action after the Week 13 game, reporting symptoms that led to his third concussion of the season and a second trip to IR that finally ended his year. This wasn't just an unlucky season. It was a deeply, deeply concerning pattern of serious head injuries.
And look, you don't have to take my word for how serious this was. Just listen to Ward himself. This quote really cuts through all the medical jargon. He said, "I was getting dizzy for damn near a month. That wasn't normal." He flat out calls it a traumatic injury. This wasn't some little bump on the head you just shake off. This was a scary, prolonged medical event that really made him face the life-altering risks of the game he plays. Now, to really understand what Ward was going through in 2025, you have to know about the profound personal tragedy that hit him right before the season started. It's just heartbreaking. In October 2024, his young daughter, Amani Joy, passed away after a battle with heart issues. Ward himself admitted that when he came back to play, he was mentally somewhere off the grid. You just can't separate the physical trauma he endured from the immense emotional weight he was already carrying. Thankfully, there was a glimmer of hope with the birth of his son. And when you hear him say recently that he's got his joy back, you realize he's been fighting his way back, not just as a player, but as a person.
So all of this, the concussions, the personal tragedy, the new perspective, it all leads Charvarius Ward to this moment. He is standing at a true crossroads, staring at a decision that pits his long-term health and his family's future against the enormous financial and professional stakes of his football career.
And let's be very clear about how high those stakes are. Look at that number, $54 million. That's the massive investment the Colts made in him. He was supposed to be a cornerstone of their defense, a shutdown corner. There's a huge amount on the line for him and for the team. This isn't just about playing a game. It's about life-changing money and the huge commitment a team made to a player they believed in.
And this right here, this quote, is the bottom line. It's the ultimatum. He's drawn a line in the sand for himself. He's not dancing around it. He says, one more concussion, and he's done. And then he says the most important part, I got to think about my family and kids too. That is the raw, honest calculation that every player in this position has to make. It's that moment where football player clashes with father and husband. When does the risk become too great?
But just when you think the decision's been made, the story takes another twist. A recent report says that his decision is still up in the air, that he's now legitimately reconsidering that hard line he drew about retirement. And that just shows you the incredible pull of the game, the competition, the money, the identity that comes with being a pro athlete. It's a really difficult internal battle, and right now his future is very much uncertain. So let's bring the two halves of our story back together. The 2026 Indianapolis Colts are really an organization defined by this fascinating split. On one side, a meticulous, strategic push for stability, and on the other, the chaotic, human uncertainty that is the brutal reality of the NFL. This slide really sums up the whole story, doesn't it? On the left side, you've got the blueprint for control, keeping the leadership, making smart hires, promoting from within, building this stable, long-term vision. But on the right, you have everything that could blow that plan to pieces. The memory of that 7-game collapse, the huge question mark over their star cornerback's future, and just the violent, unpredictable nature of the sport itself. In the end, the Colts' future is going to be decided by which side of this chart wins out, the perfect plan or the chaos of reality.
And that really brings us to a final, bigger thought. As we watch the Colts try to engineer their way to success with smart strategies and analytics, the deeply personal and frankly dangerous journey of Charvarius Ward forces all of us to ask a much bigger question, one that goes way beyond just one team or one season. What is the true price of success in the NFL?
I really want to know what you all think. Do you believe in the Colts' plan? And if you were in Charvarius Ward's shoes, what would you do? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive, please make sure you're subscribed to NFL Nexus so you don't miss our next explainer.
And hey, one last thing before you go. A really awesome way to support what we do here is to check out our NFL-themed coloring books. They're seriously perfect for fans of all ages, whether it's for you, your kids, or your grandkids. You can find them using the link in the description or just scan the QR code on your screen. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time here on NFL Nexus.